never believed in love at first sight. He dated enough to know attraction was chemistry plus timing. Not always something in your heart, sometimes more mystical. That part is critical. He worked in a quiet bookstore downtown, the kind with creaky floors and too many unsold poetry collections. Used books with imperfections, that's where he first saw her. She walked in on a rainy Thursday, shaking water from her umbrella like it had personally offended her. Dark hair clung to her cheeks and her eyes, quiet blue, almost diamond-like in the lamplight, scanned the shelves without purpose. When she asked for a rare translation of Rumi, her voice hit him like a memory he didn't own. He handed her the book, the fingers brushed just enough. The world tilted, not dramatically. No fireworks, no slow motion montage, just a sudden bone-deep recognition, as if every cell in his body sighed. There you are, finally. They talked, she laughed at his terrible bookstore jokes, and he felt something crack open inside him, something that had been waiting, patient and silent for decades. By closing time, they were still standing between fiction and philosophy, rain drumming the windows like applause. Over the next weeks, it unfolded fast, and gentle coffee dates turned into long walks into nights on his couch, reading aloud to each other. He told her things he'd never told anyone, the loneliness that had shadowed him since childhood, the way he'd always felt like he was waiting for permission to really live. She listened like she'd heard it all before. One evening, after too much wine and too little sleep, they lay tangled in sheets, her head on his chest. I've never felt this before, he whispered, like I've been looking for you my whole life. She lifted her head, her eyes were wet. He said, I think I have been looking for you my whole life. She reached for her phone, opened a photo she'd never shown anyone, an old sketch, yellowed at the edges, two figures in 18th century clothing, hands clasped under a willow tree. The woman had her jawline, the same tilt to her smile. The man had his brow, his quiet mouth. I found this in my grandmother's attic years ago. She said, no explanation, just the drawing and a note in French. Nous nous retrouvons, we will find each other again. He stared, the resemblance wasn't vague, it was exact. That night he dreamed he was a soldier in a muddy field, 1917, uniform torn, lungs burning from gas. She was a nurse, bandaging his arm in a tent that smelled of iodine and blood. Their eyes met the same way, recognition, relief, terror. Don't die, she whispered, promise you'll come back. He promised, then the shell hit. He woke gasping, she was already awake, tears on her face. I dreamed the same thing, she said, the tent, the promise. They spent months chasing the fragments, hypnosis, old letters, deja vu that felt like homesickness. Piece by piece the lives surfaced, a merchant and a poet in 12th century Baghdad, who wrote verses to each other in secret, a blacksmith and a healer in medieval France, separated by plague, a pilot and a radio operator in the Pacific Theater who never got their last goodbye. Always the same pattern. They found each other, loved fiercely, and then something, war, illness, distance tore them apart. Always before they could build anything lasting. This time felt different, very significant. One quiet Sunday, walking through the park where they'd had their third date, he saw a willow, same one from the sketch. He said in a rough voice, I think this is the first first time I've ever really believed in something bigger than myself. I thought you were the first love of my life. Turns out you're the only love of every life I've had. She smiled through tears, and you're mine every time. He took her hands, the rain started again, soft and forgiving. Neither of them said the word soulmate. They didn't need to. The word felt small compared to the truth. They had crossed centuries looking for this exact moment, this exact touch, this exact promise kept at last. Under the willow with water dripping from leaves like slow applause, they kissed like people who had waited lifetimes. And for the first time, neither of them felt the clock ticking. They had all the time in the world to live, to forgive. Remember, echoes of first sight.